Hi, boys and girls. We're going to talk about rounding decimals today. And I know you've been rounding whole numbers for many, many years now, and the rules are exactly the same. So that should bring you a little bit of comfort for today's lesson. If I have a number like 5,326 and 27 thousandths, and I tell you to round to the nearest tenths place, I'm going to first identify the tenths place. I know this is tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So I'm going to look at the tenths place, which is the 0. And then I'm going to look to my neighbor for advice, my neighbor to the right, always the neighbor to the right. You might remember a saying from your younger years: 4 or less, let it rest; 5 or more, let it soar. Is our neighbor 4 or less, let it rest, or 5 or more, let it soar? It is 4 or less, let it rest. So we are going to let this 0 rest. That means it's going to stay the same. So go ahead and bring it down. It's staying the same. Now, if the 2 would have been like a 7, we would have had to bump that 0 up to a 1. But we let it rest. Now what you do is simple. Everything before it stays the same, and everything after it becomes a 0. And that could be your final answer, 5,326.000. Now, anytime you have a decimal and pretty much nothing after it, is it even necessary to have that decimal? No. So I would accept that answer, but I would also accept a simplified version, which would be 5,326. The only time it can get a little hairy is if you have a number that is 9 that needs to be bumped up. So let me show you what we would do in that situation. If I had 426 and 9 tenths, and I said, well, let's see, not 9 tenths, 97 hundredths. And I said to round that to the tenths place. I'm going to underline the tenths place, look at my neighbor for advice. My neighbor is telling me it's 5 or more, let it soar. 7 falls in that category. So it's telling me I need to bump that 9 up to a 10. What I cannot do is just go ahead and bring down a 10. I can't put 2 digits in one place. I can't do that. But what I can do is I can take this 1 and I can carry it over the 6. Just like we do when we are adding. So let me erase the 1 so we're not confused. So I just took the 1 from the 10 and I carried it and I put it over the 6. What is 6 plus 1? 6 plus 1 is 7. So let me get my pen working back right again. So it's a 7. Don't forget to add your decimal, bring your decimal down. Everything before it stays the same. Everything after it becomes a 0. So we have 427.00, and like we said before, we really don't need the 0.00 if there's no other number after it. So 427 would be a good final answer. The only other thing I want to show you is sometimes they will say not round to the nearest hundredth or round to the nearest thousandth. They'll say round to the nearest whole number. And all that means is if I have, say, 53.9, round to the nearest whole number. We know everything to the left of the decimal point is your whole number. Everything to the right of the decimal point is part of a whole. So I'm going to look at my whole number, which is 53. I'm going to look at my neighbor for advice. My neighbor's telling me I need to bump that 53 up because it's 5 or more, let it soar. So that 53 will become a 54 and you are done. 54 would be 53.9 rounded to the nearest whole. I hope this helps. Y'all have a great day.